Okay. So, first we have the Funky Rabbit Robot. Then we have the Funky Rabbit Man. And then we have the Funky Rabbit Code. And then we have the Funky Rabbit Woman. And now we got the Funky Rabbit Code again? Man. These Funky Rabbit people are multiplying like actual rabbits.
I always come back.
How's it going, everybody? My name is NobodyActive, and I just wanted to say thank you guys for how the last FNAF discussion theory video is going. I know that's a silly little video not to be taken too seriously, but I'm glad it's going pretty positive so far, so I gotta thank you all for that. And honestly, I wanted to come back into it, but I wanted to try to do something a little bit different. Who knows if this is actually going to be different, but I'm going to be starting a character analysis, and if there's possible theories to go along with it, basically discussing everything possibly about a certain character slash entity in the FNAF series. And we're going to be calling this series, as you saw from the title, the .MP4 files. Now, as you also saw from the title and the thumbnail, we are going to be starting with M.X.E.S. from FNAF Security Breach Ruin. Why are we starting off with this one? A little bit more relevant to things that are going on right now, and honestly, I thought it was more interesting right now. If the series picks up and it does pretty well, then we can go back and we can do other characters. No problem with me. But anywho's, let's get right into what even is a M.X.E.S. Real quick before I get into the discussion, I just wanted to mention, if you notice some coughing while I'm talking, or my voice is just sounding a little bit different, I kind of catch a cold from one of my baby nephews. So yeah, just we won't talk about it no more. We good. So M.X.E.S., it's an AI program made specifically to prevent the shutdown of the security nodes throughout the Pizzaplex, set up seemingly after the events of Security Breach, or the events of Security Breach Ruin. Now, with these security nodes, they're only accessible inside of the VANI, or the Virtual Augmented Neural Network Integration Unit system. So only registered technicians or electricians can actually access these security nodes and even shut them down in the first place. But what M.X.E.S. specifically does is, if it notices anybody going after these specific security nodes trying to shut them down, then it actually just finds your location and then sends it out to the nearest animatronic for you to, what the animatronic or what M.X.E.S. believes is, gets sent to a safe designated location for further evaluation and a stern talking to. But of course, he puts his own funky little rabbit man spin to it, let's be honest. But you end up fighting back against M.X.E.S., who's the minor antagonist of Security Breach Ruin, by eventually making your own signal jammer. But my boy ends up pulling the greatest Uno reverse card that I've ever seen, and every time you do anything to try to stop him, he just goes, "No, you." Okay, so now that you finally made your way throughout all the areas of the Pizzaplex and you finally shut down all the nodes, you can go into the sinkhole that was actually discovered in the first part of FNAF Security Breach. I'm just gonna say the main game. I don't know why I said first part. But while you go down into what is actually the FNAF 6 location, you end up finding out that these security nodes in M.X.E.S. was actually a whole other deal going on, because all those security nodes was actually holding down this copycat head ass right here. So this right here, this is what's called the Mimic, and I won't go into much detail, but I could make a .mp4 file. Let me know in the comments down below. But anywho's, what I'll say right now is that these guys basically go monkey see, monkey do. And they copy people's actions and voices, but are still able to utilize or carry out inputted program functions if, you know, anybody inputs them into the robots. What happens next? Well, to be honest, we don't exactly know, because we gotta wait for the next game to figure out which one was the canon ending to the game. But we got one of 3 options right here. So either option A, when the real Gregory comes through onto the walkie-talkie and actually starts guiding you, you can completely follow him until you reach an elevator, so that way you actually learn about what the mimic actually is. But instead of getting up the elevator and presumably saved, the elevator ends up dropping and presumably Cassie ends up dying. Who did it? It was either Gregory for you releasing the mimic, or it was the mimic, as one FNAF content creator ends up pointing out, right Toast. He ended up noticing that the battery that was connected to the elevator was actually positioned right next to the mimic, so it's possible that the mimic did it too.
But you know what is a very likely method? This elevator is powered by a battery pack right underneath the conduit that we charged. And you know who just got foiled and let Cassie get away and is sitting right next to that battery pack? The mimic. All it would have to do is just unclip one of the 2 clips and the elevator would come crashing back down.
For ending B, you can not follow any of Gregory's directions and end up leading yourself into a cave corner with a Freddy Fazbear cutout, and you can put on your Vanny mask and basically get trapped in a little AR simulation that's made by either the Mimic or M.X.E.S.? Not exactly sure, but we know it was one of them essentially, because of the main voice line that plays is actually one that Grimmick ends up using in the middle of the game to lead Cassie down into the sinkhole.
Cassie, I'm okay. I found a spot to hide. Cassie, I'm okay. I found a spot to hide.
But yeah, either way, that's just death for Cassie on the second part. And for the third ending, you can not listen to Gregory for some of the equation and end up going into an alternate area, leading the mimic down, where the mimic ends up cosplaying as a lion. For some reason it likes that. I don't know, don't ask me, bro. Hey, I don't hate. But you end up leading it into the scooping room and actually end up scooping it. We don't know exactly what happens after the scoop, but yeah, that's actually the third option. And so we don't know exactly which ending is canon yet, even though it seems like the main 2 options are either the elevator ending or the scooper ending. But no matter what, by the end of the game, you end up releasing the mimic. So, with all that said, there's only one more question. Who made this guy? But just keep in mind, all these that we're about to talk about, this is all complete just theory. We're going straight into theory territory. So we're done with all the known facts that we know about M.X.E.S. Just that he was an AI designed specifically to keep the mimic inside the basement down there. And so if you guys want to dip out here, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, let's talk about some theories about who made the M.X.E.S. program. Oh my glob. When you realize your bed's been messy this entire time. Oh, hold up. Let me fix my damn self. Let me fix my damn self here. 13 minutes into the thing. I can't even fix my. What the? What is wrong with you, boy? Fix your. Okay, we fixed ourselves. And actually, you know what? There we go. Now we got the walrus. Okay, so first things first, on our lineup of potential M.E.S.S creators, we have Gregory, the protagonist of Security Breach. Now, this one's kind of just more general thought, mainly because of the fact that the events of Security Breach itself, even though the only canon ending because of the events of Security Breach Ruin is the Princess Quest / Save Vanny ending. With that, a lot of people believe that he ended up finding the Mimic and making the M.E.S.S program just because of the fact that, you know, he's down there. And not only that, but there's his backpack. Well, I don't know if it's his backpack exactly, but there's a backpack that's signed to him down there in the basement and where the Mimic is. And there's also the Mimic has his walkie-talkie, so it's kind of just those two events are kind of weird for the fact that people are linking those up to him making M.E.S.S essentially. That's what I'm getting at. I'm being so awkward today. That's my superpower. But now for our second entry, what if we take that one step further, and what if we just say Gregory had some help from Vanessa? Because it seems like at the very least, to get the Mimic retrapped down there, Gregory and Vanessa ended up hitching a plan in which Gregory ended up trapping the Mimic inside the room and crawling out through a vent, and that's seemingly how the items from the last entry ended up getting in the possession of the Mimic and in the Mimic room. But and so it was one of those things where it seemed like they possibly tag teamed, not only trapping the Mimic but making M.E.S.S and installing it before they left to actually like keep it down there. That's one possible theory. I don't know, but it's also just one of those things where it's like people like, you know, FNAF, Game Theory and Ritos had mentioned, some of the technology down there is really old for Gregory and even Vanessa to be trying to use and code to make M.E.S.S to keep the Mimic down there. So a little bit shaky on that one. Next things next, we have a more recent character. We're going to be talking about Cassie's dad. So of course, Cassie, the protagonist of Security Breach Ruin, talks a lot in the actual events of the game about her father, who was a technician for Fazbear Entertainment and also had a really big interest in Bonnie, which if he ended up stumbling into the Mimic device and the Mimic was draining a lot of power, then it would make sense to create something that would keep it in there. And of course, because of the whole Vanny unit system, only technicians and electricians can actually access the AR world in which M.E.S.S is a part of. But it also just wouldn't make sense because of course the technology thing we just talked about, and also just the timeline of how long, because he's always talked about it in a past sense, like he's, no matter what, he's gone, and whether that means he's dead or he's possibly just missing. Okay, now these last two are theories that are more taken from YouTubers. So first things first, I want to thank, of course, Game Theory for the for this next entry that's coming up, because we're going to be talking about William Afton. It's plausible that if we're talking about the fact that William ended up stealing the Mimic device from Henry, then it would be plausible that Afton also made the M.E.S.S system, because it would then be logical from what MatPat says that he would take the Mimic program, pull it into a digital surface, use it to make the fun times, and so now we have Helpy, the digital Mimic, and we have the Mimic, the actual one. But then Afton would have to make M.E.S.S in order to keep the Mimic down in the area that he is. Only thing that's kind of weird about this is that why would he be doing all this in the FNAF 6 location of all places? And also it's just one of those things where it's like I feel like Afton just made the we don't know specifically. Hey, clear up. Clear up. I said clear up, not get blurrier, camera. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Clear up. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anywho's, I feel like, not really feel like, but the thing is that, like, the only thing is that the voice mimicry technology is something that Afton could probably make on his own, like, without needing the mimic program. And so, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know how much grounds there is for Helpy being a digital mimic. Also, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not subscribing to any of these. I'll be honest. I'm just laying them out. Oh god. Don't worry, someday I'll get myself out of the hole that I'm digging. And last but not least, want to thank Rightoast for this next entry. It is the fact that what if Henry made it? So of course, because of the information that we get from the books, it is likely known that Henry is the one who actually made the mimic, just because of his connections to how we connect him to Edwin in the actual books. And Edwin in the books is the one who made the mimic, and you know, I won't go into that whole story, but that's the main piece of information you need to know. So in this one, it was plausible that the mimic in the games, from Rightoast's theory, was created to be a new body for Charlotte, or the puppet. And so the plan was that the FNAF 6 fire didn't actually burn Henry or Charlotte, and so Henry ended up trying to use the scooper and the mimic that's down there to actually transfer Charlotte's soul from the puppet to the mimic, and hopefully give her a new body to live on and rest. But of course, this is if the scooper ending that I discussed earlier is the actual ending. And the only thing that I have to mention about this Afton and Henry theory that kind of is a little bit weird is that from what game theory is stating, that the mimic and the Eclipse animatronics are pretty much built around the same time.
Two animatronics made from the same basic shapes and parts. Now, am I saying that Eclipse is a mimic? No. But what I am saying is that these animatronics seem to come from the same time period. A time period that predates practically everything that we've seen in this franchise.
But there's one weird problem with that. And that's during the events of the the daycare center, you actually have to use a Faz wrench in the back of Eclipse's head to actually reset it. And so the question becomes, does the mimic also have that same sort of like Faz wrench somewhere? Because that seems to be something that's with these Glamrock animatronics along with Eclipse, where they can specifically you specifically need the Faz wrench in order to like deactivate or reboot them, as we've seen with Roxy and Eclipse. And so it's one of those things where, like, this is either the thing that they were originally made way back in the day, like first, and somebody remade them with the FASWrench integration, or they were originally made with the FASWrench integration. The FASWrench was just completely ignored as a tool the entire time. My bad. Until security breach came through, where now the FASWrench is used for everything. Or, no matter what, both of these animatronics would have had to been made sooner to accompany the FASWrench technology that was created more recently for the Pizzaplex. I think that's the only big issue with the Eclipse and the Mimic being the same robot, or Afton and Henry actually being the ones who made M.X.E.S. Because the fact that Eclipse can actually use the FASWrench needs the FASWrench like the other animatronics does is actually just a really weird fact in the terms of talking about if these are much older animatronics. Oh, and last fact I want to bring up is that we actually don't know the acronym for what M.X.E.S. stand for. We have no clue. So hopefully we find this and all the information that we need to out in future games or book releases or whatever. But anywho's, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys did, you guys know what to do. Like, follow, subscribe. Any sort of thing would be much appreciated on the channel. My name was NobodyActive. And until next time, peace out.
Who wanna get it? Knock my mans down, we gon' fix it. Hit ignition, blowing walls up for the mission. Run through ditches, lady fingers if they digging. 9-toe dissing, fucking hit his 3 digits. I ain't missing. Next opponent, I'll be sprinting. Yeah, I'm on it. Wait from TK.